Bienvenidos a Taboo Talk Latina Edition. Yo soy Cynthia.
And I'm Jeanette. And here at Taboo Talks, we keep it real, raw, and rooted in our cultura. This is the space where we break generational patterns, speak en lo que nadie quiere decir, and celebrate the stories that make us powerful mujeres.
Today's guest is a powerhouse in every sense of the word. She's a storyteller, truth teller, and mujer who has used her voice to inspire, empower, and transform. We are honored to welcome Yvette, author, founder of Awakened Woman, and host of the award-nominated AW Confidential podcast.
With over 500 articles under her belt, contributions in books like Hispanic Star Rising, and interviews across countless media platforms, Yvette is proof of what happens when we take our pain, put it on paper, and let it set us free. Bienvenida. We're so happy to have you here.
Gracias. That was such a beautiful introduction. I'm a crier and my eyes are watery.
So are we. So
That's all you, girl.
Muchísimas gracias. Like, I love your energy. I'm so grateful. You are doing, like, the work that you're doing, breaking those taboos, talking about them. That's power. So thank you for sharing your platform with me.
thank you for the reminder for saying yes. Thank you. We know how busy you are, and everything you do is such an inspiration to us.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, don't make me cry now. Let's go. Let's dive in.
And before we dive into these powerful topics, Yvette, tell us a little bit about who you are, your roots, and the mujer you were before becoming the storyteller and speaker you are today.
Where do we start? Okay, I am Dominican. My parents came to New York around the 70s when so many Dominicans came to Washington Heights. I was raised in a pretty strict, I'm sure you guys are familiar, pretty strict upbringing. And I grew up thinking that there was this blueprint laid out for me, right? I had to be a doctor or a lawyer, get a corporate job, okay, the blueprint I think that we're all familiar with. But as I got older, I started questioning a lot of those things. And I've been married and divorced twice. And they've been blessings because they have been lessons for me. I was raised, my mom, she raised me to believe that I didn't have a choice. I had to become my best self. But as we know, I think the journey is never easy and there's a lot of bumps and there's a lot of, I don't even want to say mistakes, I'll say lessons. There are a lot of lessons that we need to learn. And as I got older, like I said, I just questioned so many things. And that started me off on this journey where I still am today. I question a lot of things. I'm just reflection is very key for me. And, this has all been part of the journey. I want to explore not only my truth, but the truth that I was raised with, right? So I'm kind of challenging everything right now. And I think the difference is I just share it with everyone.
That's a wonderful, that's a gift, because
Yeah.
I mean, and going back to our roots, we both can relate, right? It's going into like the culture expectations of that this is the right path. This is the path you have to take. So once we break it, there's a lot of more challenges that we have to break along the way and things that we need to like break free and be like, well, we can do this. We can be entrepreneurs. We can have a podcast. We can run a business. We can be a wife, a mom, and all the other titles that we take over. And it's so inspiring to see everything you've built still going back to those roots because it's so hard for us. And that's why with Taboo Talks, we really make sure that it's a topic because we all go through it and we just don't speak about it. They only see what you've
Absolutely.
built, but they don't really get to know your story behind it.
And I think the story, it's funny. And I said this to someone today. It's like you see the success, but the real story is behind that success. It's the
Yes.
work, right?
I
It's
love
the
that.
journey. And I think, one of the things that I try to remember is that most of my life, I felt like I wasn't enough. My hair wasn't straight enough. My skin wasn't light enough. I think, and I'm still trying to figure out why that is. I think it does have to do with your upbringing. I think it has to do with your experiences, not knowing what your boundaries are. I think it's like there's so many things, but it's doing the work. And I feel like I want to share that because it can help. It can help millions. It's the truth because most of us have some sort of I'm not enough, some sort.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. And it's unlearning those taboos. That's where the power comes, right? Which is why, like Jeanette and I created this platform because there's so many taboos that we can start talking about. And for me, it's like if one person can listen and relate, like, that's it. Like, our job is done. And, like, as we keep having these conversations, right? Like, the out is so beautiful because it's like, oh my God, yeah, like, this is how I grew up, right? Like, at the beginning, you said, you're Dominican. There was a lot of expectation. My parents are also Dominican. So, like, and I was raised in a very strict household. And for me, it was the same. It was like, you're going to become a professional. Like career education to them was like number one. Like there is no other way but this. And because my mom was a tax accountant, I wanted to make her proud. So I was like, oh, I'll do the same. And they approved of that career because they saw it and they were like, okay, yeah, that checks the box. That makes her good money. She'll climb the corporate ladder, right? And it's like, there's no other way, but that's the way that you're going to go. And same for my brother, too. Like, he chose a very well known career. And it was like, okay, he checked the box, too. And then you don't question it, right? So kudos to you for starting to question, right? Those things and saying, well, no, what else is there for me, right? Besides the typical 9 to 5.
Because I think the question started for me. I remember asking myself, or not even asking myself, telling myself, this can't be it. There's got to be more. And once that thought was like, it's like a seed, right? Then I started asking myself all the questions. And I have to say, the questions they're difficult.
Yeah.
Because you're going against the grain, right? Being an entrepreneur, whether it's a podcast host, creative, whatever, influencer, designer, whatever it is, those careers, they sort of go against at least our grain because we were raised to play it safe.
Yeah, I remember they would tell me I will have my 9 to 5. I was working then in corporate America, so I was in banking, but they still wanted me to find a degree and go to college because the 9 to 5, tomorrow you can get fired or something can happen, and they still want me to do something. And I'm like, but I don't want any of that. I want the 9 to 5 and I don't want a career. Like, I don't want a degree, right? So it was always like that balance of like, I was not good enough. And then growing up, you had that in your mind of like, I'm not good enough. Yeah, but what are they going to say? The expectations, because that's all that we have. It's like, I don't want to do something because what are other people going to say, or the expectations of our own family, which doesn't let us evolve. So, yes.
Yeah. And that kind of leads us into like our first topic, which is so close to all of our hearts, right? Healing through words. So, Yvette, when did you first realize that, writing was more than a creative outlet, that it could actually be a form of healing?
So this is interesting. I have to share this. So when I was 14 years old, I had this, of course, a terrible heartbreak, right? You fall in love, you fall in love, and he breaks your heart. So I wrote a song at the age of 14. Little did I know it would mean, like, it never meant anything as an adult. But when I had my divorce, it triggered a really painful depression, a crippling depression. And I was able to heal part of the pain by writing. So every night I wrote. I wrote until 2 and 3 in the morning when my daughter was sleeping. And as I wrote, I realized, wow, this could be a book. This can actually be something that can help other women that maybe are going through the same pain. Because my thought was, okay, we have what, 50% of marriages ending in divorce. I'm not the only one going through this. So it turned out to be the first book, A Journey to Becoming the Best Self. And I didn't set out to write the book. It wasn't like, oh, I sat down to write a book. I always say the book wrote me. And when I go back to when I was that 14-year old little girl, I'm like, wait a minute. That heartbreak led to that song. I went into a studio. I actually recorded it. I got it into a competition. And I guess for me, pain becomes purpose or has become purpose. So yeah, I don't share that story often, but
Thank you for
it's
sharing that.
Yeah,
You turn pain into purpose. And not only
Yeah.
for yourself, but for anyone out there that needs it or is going through it or will go through it, because we all go through it. We all went through it. I went through a divorce once, Cynthia did too, and we don't talk about it because we don't want to be judged. We're hurt. We moved on, but it didn't mean it didn't happen, right?
Yeah.
So that is very powerful. And the beauty that we can find in moments that we feel down, we are depressed, we have anxiety. And I also believe that miracles happen, or just the best things happen when you least expect them.
A
So,
hundred
because
percent.
if they tell you a book, you're like, no, I would have never thought to write a book. And that's really what saved you and probably saved so many other women's out there.
And then
Yeah.
as I think as I wrote the book, I said to myself, well, and I finished the first draft of the manuscript, and then I was like, wait a minute, there are thousands of stories we can tell. And that's when I started awakenedwoman.com, because there's so many stories that we have as women, as humans. And I said, wait a minute, I'm going to keep writing. And then I started sharing them on social. And then it's sort of just like, it literally just became something bigger than I truly imagined. I didn't set out to do
So
any of this.
That's so amazing. Isn't that funny how like a simple idea just leads into something like so big? Like this is how this started. And I shared it. We shared it on a live. It was like I shared a clip about my hair because my hair is naturally curly growing up. Like I couldn't go out with my curly hair because I was considered unprofessional, ugly. And this was taught by my mom. So she would take me every Saturday, to straighten my hair. So I was having a conversation with Jennifer Lee, who is a content creator, and that small clip, I posted it on my Instagram and it just went viral. And the feedback that I got on that video of so many women saying, oh my God, like my mom did the same thing too. Like I still struggle with my curly hair. And that kind of like turned on a light bulb. I was like, wait a minute. What if I start talking about all the different taboos that we have gone through and experienced in different cultural settings and make it into like a YouTube, channel. So that's where the idea came from, like this small,
very
tiny, yeah. And then here we are.
But if you, the funny thing is, if you think about it, like these, and I'm, correct me if I'm wrong, these are our pain points, because I'm sure when you were
Yeah.
that young girl, that was a pain point. For me, I know curly hair was a pain point. I actually even wrote an article about it. So, the divorce was a pain point. So all these pain points, we can create, I say create magic, whether it's a podcast or an article or a book, and we can share those lessons with others that are maybe just being introduced to that pain point. So I think it's all sort of like, it all happens for a reason.
I love
Yeah.
how you keep saying pain point, because I feel like, that's a beautiful way to see it and to embrace it, right? Because I feel like as a Latina, we're often taught to like stay silent, to keep our stories locked inside. So now that takes me to ask you, what taboo do you personally have to break in order to write your truth so openly?
Ooh,
That's
that's
a
a
good one.
really good question. I know, stands out like it was yesterday. I was raised, lo que pasa en casa se queda en casa.
Oof.
Ooh, yes.
So I am breaking a lot of rules. I did lose my mom 2 years ago. And um, so she doesn't have to hear all the stories that I play back in, in live. But that's a huge taboo, because I was raised, you don't talk, you don't, it's your dirty laundry, right? You don't take it out. So that's my taboo that I'm breaking.
Wow. Yeah. No, I never thought about it that way. That's so true. 100%. Yeah. I love that. Wow. And then for the mujeres listening who are holding in their stories out of fear or shame, what would you say to them?
Yeah, these are good questions. I think I would say, don't be afraid to speak your truth. Don't be ashamed of who you are, because I think the more you are yourself, the more you attract those that will love you for who you are. Like, let's say if you share a truth, if you share a story, if I think if that scares people away, then those are not your people.
100%.
Yes.
So I say, stand in your truth, be who you are, and those that know you and love you will stay. If not, they'll go and other people will come. But you stand in your truth, because I think at the end of the day, we're the ones that have to live with ourselves.
Wow, that was powerful.
Thing.
It's a different perspective. And now it takes me to the next topic because it hits home the emotional cost of being strong. And it relates to what you just shared too, because the idea that we always have to keep it together, keep moving, never break, right? So if you can share a little bit about your own experience considering strength, right? And what it costs you emotionally, mentally, or spiritually growing up.
Ooh. I'd say it's cost me at some part during some parts of my life. It's cost me myself. Like I felt that I had to be someone else to be loved. And I had to be who someone else wanted to be loved. And it cost me myself. Like I wasn't able to be myself for many parts of my life. So I feel like that's a big price, because sort of, the real me was sort of in this little box inside. And I'm not sure if it was shame, if it was fear, or it could be she didn't feel she was good enough to come outside of that box. But it cost me me.
Wow, that's powerful. I always tell myself, because I've struggled with mental health and suicide ideation from a young age. And through my healing journey, I always used to tell myself the moment that I'm not being me is the moment that I stop living. That like I'm not being truly me. So I'm not being authentic at all. So that's always like my reminder of never to go back to that place.
And I can connect with that, because I feel like when you become someone else, or you're living someone else's life, you're no longer living, you're just existing. And I've made a commitment that I don't want to exist. I want to live. I want to live fully.
That's so good. Yes. And I know many of us wear like this strong Latina batch, right? And a lot of us wear it
Get
with
it from my
pride.
mama.
We wear it with like so much pride because that's just what was instilled in us, right? And what we saw from our parents. But then there's also like this exhaustion, right? That comes with it. So what are some signs that you notice in yourself that, you told yourself, okay, it's time to put like a stop?
I believe in energy. I think your body talks to you. And I think if you pay attention, if you listen to your body tells you what you need to know. I went through a really difficult couple of years recently, actually, and I shared it on my podcast. I was diagnosed with Graves' disease, which is hyperthyroidism. I went down to 85 pounds. I had shaky hands. I had to take medication because my heart was going at such a rapid heartbeat, that I had to take medication to slow it down. Like there were all these things. And interestingly enough, most of the diagnosis are diagnosed with Graves or with hyperthyroidism or thyroid disorder, because there's also hypo, are women. So I feel that your body talks to you, your body tells you when something's not right. And I was going through a very difficult, stressful time, had lost my mom, my daughter had gone off to college. The relationship that I was in, the person moved 3,000 miles away. So all these things were going on at the same time. Stressful job, like all these things. And something didn't feel right for me. And I went to the doctor, and I had to take medication for a couple of years. I'm in remission now, but I knew, like it was, my body felt different. So for me, it's the energy. My body tells me what I need to know. And I truly believe that we're just so caught up in our everyday, or in our whatever's going on, that we sometimes put that in the back burner. But your body is amazing, and it really does tell you when something's wrong. So, those pain points I keep talking about, they get louder and louder and louder. And I feel like when I was diagnosed, that was like my body telling me, you're shutting down. You need to take care of yourself.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard to unlearn that, right? Like, how do we start unlearning that belief that like rest,
It's
softness?
It's
it's
hard, especially
hard.
as a kid.
Yeah,
It's hard, but when you go through something traumatic like that, you're like, wait a minute, it's a wake. Like I felt it was a wake up call. And the moment I asked the doctor, I said, well, I don't take medication. It's not that I don't believe in it. I just don't like to put anything into my body that I don't have to. But I remember asking her, okay, is it a consideration for me not to take this medication? She was like, absolutely not. You'd be risking your life. I was like, okay, this is my wake up call. So,
yeah,
do you really want to get to that point where you're like, okay, my health is now in jeopardy? Most of us do anyway. But if we can avoid it, whether it's therapy, and everyone who knows me in my community knows that I believe in therapy. I think, obviously you have to find the right person. I believe everyone should have therapy. I truly
yeah,
believe that because human beings are complex. Life is hard. So why not? Why not get therapy? So I feel like if you could be proactive, then we can avoid a lot of these, ailments and obviously, there's a physical piece to that, but I think if we help our bodies, we can be proactive and maybe avoid some things. There's some things that can't be avoided, but at least help our bodies. What was it my mom used to say, ayúdate que yo te ayudo.
Not safe.
So
my
I'm
mom used
pulling
to
out,
say that.
yeah, I'm pulling out all Dominican sayings today.
But I do
I
agree,
love it.
That's it.
and
That's
that's
it.
the problem that we have.
I've been guilty of that too, though.
Yeah,
It happens, but then that's when we have that guilt that keeps going one on top of the other, accumulating to the point that you're like, man, I should have just done this before, to the point that you get burnt out because we leave everything for later. We're like, oh, we know we need this, but I don't want to.
And I think the other thing that is important to say is I remember my mom always saying, don't worry, I got it. Don't worry, I got it. And I
yeah,
think we have to be as women and as Dominican and Latinas, we have to be willing to ask for help. We have to be okay with being vulnerable. And I know I have been guilty of that most of my life. I have found myself saying, no, don't worry, I got it when I'm falling apart.
yeah.
So ask for help.
Yes, and step back because I noticed that that works for me, right? Like around the house, I'm like doing 100 things and going like 100 miles per hour. And then my husband always says, "But you're not giving me time to help you, right? Like
You're
help
like,
me help
okay,
you."
I
Like
asked
for
you
real,
2 minutes ago. Let's get.
I seen the reel of like throw away the garbage. Okay, I'll do it now. And I'm like, forget, I'll do it myself. And then he goes, where's the garbage? I was gonna throw it out. I told you to throw it out. But and then he's like, you just told me a minute ago I was wrapping up an email or a call. So
God,
then
that's
he's like,
so
I can't,
funny.
but we do that to ourselves.
Yeah.
Not now.
And that's the thing, like that conversation happened with me and my husband. And I remember him saying, like, you're not giving me space or time to help you. And then I thought about it and I was like, oh, he's right. Let me take a step back. And when I ask for help, it's not instant gratification, right? We live in a world of instant gratification, right? Where we want everything on the go, go, go. So when we ask for help, we have to take a step back and say, okay, it's not going to be done in our timing. It's going to be done in somebody else's timing, and we have to be okay with it. So unlearning these things, because like we said, right, we grew up with our parents always hustling, always saying, oh, yeah, I got it. Don't worry. Like, I'll take care of it. So unlearning is hard. Another thing I do is I check in with myself. I always tell myself, like, how's my soul? Because if my soul is irritated or there's something misaligned, then something's going on. I'm either doing too much, I'm on the verge of like burning out. And this is when I need to step back and ask for help. So
I love that.
that took a while to
100%.
learn.
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say that takes a while though.
No, trust me, that took a while to learn, and then I'm a perfectionist, and that is very hard because I always want it my way or the highway. So I mean, I'm still in the learning process
We
of
all
that
are.
piece. Yeah.
We're all students of life.
Yes.
So, I wanted to ask you, how do we start unlearning that belief that rest and soften us when we're asking for help becomes weakness for other people or for ourselves?
I'm sorry, repeat that again?
How do we start unlearning that belief that rest or soften us, when we're asking for help that makes us weak, but we shouldn't, right? We should ask for help. How do you handle that? Like, how do you think we could start unlearning that and just ask for help when we need to?
It's hard. I know for me it was hard because like I joke around about it and say I got it from my mama, but I did. So I think our parents did the best they could with what they had. They taught us what they learned. And I think we have to be willing to break the cycle. We have to be willing to do things differently. So I think unlearning begins with I don't have to do things the way my parents did them. And that's breaking a cycle. And that alone, I think it could take a lifetime because it's so ingrained in who we are and in our culture. So I would say first you have to accept that you're going to do things differently. And that means breaking the cycle. You don't have to do the same thing your parents did. They just did the best they could with what they had. So I think it starts there, being a cycle breaker. And
Yes.
that's hard.
I was just gonna say that's so hard being that person in your family to break the cycle. That is a whole job in itself that sometimes people don't realize.
And then
It's
you have
hard.
to be prepared
Yeah.
because la familia siempre tiene un comentario. You know what I mean?
A hundred
So
percent.
you have to quiet the noise and look within. I think that's key.
Oof.
I love that. Yes. And can you tell us a little bit about your book? Tell us the journey that it took to write the book. Tell us about your book. Because I know it's like part self-help, part your story as well.
Yeah. So I think I mentioned, I always say the book wrote me, and I wrote it over long nights of wine at my computer. So I wrote it like while I was going through it, parts of it. And I just felt that mental health is something that's another taboo. We don't talk about that, right? We don't talk about how we're feeling. Oh, I feel sad. I feel this. No, don't worry. You'll get past that. Eso se te pasa.
Ponte a limpiar.
Yeah,
Yeah,
my
that
mom
didn't
used to
work.
say that.
And I'm like, "Mom, really?"
It did help for a little bit. You're like, okay, you get distracted and then you feel the same or
That's like
worse.
when you get pissed off and you start washing dishes.
Yeah. Are you okay? Yes. Why?
I'm fine.
I know.
But I wanted to share that story. The book is not so much about the marriage or the divorce in itself. And I touch on that because I used to believe I was raised with, thinking Cinderella and then Sleeping Beauty, and I was going to meet that Prince Charming. So I did touch a little bit on that. But I think it was more about my journey after the divorce and how, as women, we go through this literally. It's like the 7 stages of grief because it's a loss. When
Yeah.
you're with someone, whether it's 2 years, 3 years, four, whatever it is, it's a loss. So you're grieving. So I go through like the 7 stages of grief. I go through the anger. And I share all of that. I go through creating a playlist to get me back, sort of get that energy going, changing the energy. Well, I even went through a little bit of dating frogs, which, oh my God. And then I come out on the other side of that and I meet someone who's actually more aligned with what I wanted at that time because I'm not with that person anymore. So at that time, right? And then towards the end, I even talk about how I created the platform. It's not something that I set out to do, but I believe that it is my purpose to share these stories to help others. And now it's not just women. I've received messages from men saying, wow, thank you for sharing your story about, whatever, the depression or the dating, whatever it is. But I feel that we connect through storytelling. We help others heal through storytelling. So all I'm doing is telling stories. And the hope is that they will plant a seed for others to say, you know what? If she did it, I could do it. Why can't
100.
I? We're no different.
That's
So
beautiful.
that's been the goal. That was the goal for the book.
That's inspiring, and to know again that life, as we discussed before we started recording, it's not happening to you, it's happening for you. And we don't realize it in the moment because we want things to work how we imagine, right? Like this is like Cynthia, everything perfect, like the way that she plans it. But then she's also seeing that the things on plan have been 10 times better, right? Or that we learn from it. So it's things that I guess we have to unlearn. It's so hard, it's better said than done. But the fact that you were able to break free and at least create a platform for someone to relate, whether you impact one person or 200, right? At least you know that your message, your story was heard. And
And
that's beautiful.
thank you. I want to add to that because I think it's important. You were talking about life happens for you. If I wouldn't have gone through all those experiences, I wouldn't have anything to write about or to
Yes.
talk about. So at the end, like you said, life is working for you. And I think once we get into that mindset, it really does change your perspective on the things that happen in life.
Hmm.
A
I
lot of
love
them are
that.
not good, right? There's good and
That's
bad.
part of it.
Yeah. I love when you said that because I remember, through my mental health journey, I would always say like, "Man, why me?" Right? And I'm like, "God, come on, like out of everyone, like why me?" Right? I don't have a good relationship with my mother. Like you couldn't send me another mother figure, right? And then now I'm on the other side and I'm like, "Man, if I would have never gone through all that, I wouldn't be the woman I am today." The story I'm like sharing my testimony. I had the honor to share my testimony with Jeanette on her platform, and the feedback that we got just from that episode was amazing. And then that made me again reflect like, if I didn't go through that, then I wouldn't be able to share. And I can just imagine like the amount of people that I helped by just opening up and sharing my story. So that, yeah, no, I agree. That's very powerful.
And being that person that we wish we had growing up, right? Like
Yes.
had that podcast, if we have this interview, if we had that conversation, like it's just the beauty of it that we get to have now. So super excited for that. But that's beautiful, beautiful to hear. And we cannot close without asking this, porque la tía Chismosa always has something to say. So, what will your tía Chismosa say about the mujer you are today, writing books, hosting your own podcast, and helping other women rise?
Wow. I don't know, when you say it out loud, it's like, wow, yeah, I did that. What would she say? Una tía chismosa, may she rest in peace. She would say, oh, that's such a good question. My
Gets you
God.
thinking. I know.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying, like, she would say, I'm really proud of you. I knew you had it in you, and I'm glad you're telling your story the way you lived it. So,
I have goosebumps.
Yeah.
yeah, she would be very, very proud of me. Her birthday was 2 days before mine, so we were very close.
Goosebumps.
And they always mean well, right? Because sometimes, when we think about tia chismosa, we think about the tia that always wants to know the gossip, right? Like, oh, who are you
Yeah.
dating? Or like, where's the boyfriend, right?
And a little baby, you're like, I just
Yeah.
talking about.
But I believe she was ahead of her time, though. That I remember. Because so growing up, like all the couples that I knew were married. They were very, like, Dominicans tend to be more on the Catholic side, or were more on the Catholic side. So I was raised Catholic. And I remember she moved in with her much younger boyfriend. And everyone was like, what is going on? Like, what are you doing? You have kids. And she was like, I just let me live. I
Yeah.
just want to live. And now that I think about it, I'm like, wow, she was ahead of her time. And
Yeah.
she got called out many times. And I think that freedom that she displayed, something about it, I was drawn to it.
Yeah. You can tell just by speaking about her. Like, I don't know her, but I feel like she's here with us right now because of how you speak about her and the way that you speak also, that you still carry that with you.
My God, okay. I'm so
Beautiful.
sorry. I
It
hadn't
is
thought about her in a long time.
another emotional episode.
You made other people cry. I'm sure you have. Wow.
Oh
Thank
my
you.
gosh.
Thank you for that, for giving me that space. I don't know. Whew.
Those are
Okay.
happy tears, so that's what matters.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
matters.
they
Yeah.
are. I'm gonna go call my cousin and her daughter later to say, "Wow, I thought about your mom today. I shared a story."
And she might need that call too, right?
Yeah. You
Yeah,
never know. Yeah. And of course, before we wrap up, Yvette, we would love for you to share any upcoming projects or events or just ways that our listeners can start following you and connect with you.
absolutely. You can find me on Instagram, AW Confidential, YouTube, X, iHeartRadio, Apple, oh my God, Spotify, Amazon Music. It's everywhere. There's also the platform that has over 500 articles. It's awakened-woman.com. And I just finished my second book, which is sassy, spicy, a little edgy, and it should be quite interesting to
Can't wait.
share.
Oh, we can't wait. Can you share what it will be about? Are you okay with sharing?
Sure. It's about a young woman who sets off on a journey to find true love, and she finds it in the place where she least expected.
I really love it.
Can't wait. And we'll include everything in the show notes, of course.
Of course. And
Thank
once you
you.
have it, let us know and we'll promote it. We'll buy it too. I'm super excited. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, hopefully you like a little bit of sass
Yes.
because it's a little edgy.
I love it. Hi, Yvette. Thank you so much for showing us
Thank
with your
you.
heart and your words the power of storytelling. You reminded us that our stories matter and that strength doesn't have to remain silent. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes,
Thank
thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you both.
Yeah, of course. And of course, to our listeners, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Y como siempre, we'll see you next time on Taboo Talk Latina Edition, where we keep breaking cycles, breaking silence, and breaking taboos.